May 2024, and we're here in Osseo at the Cabin in the Pines. And tell us who you are.
I'm Buzz Thompson, Commander of the Legion right now.
Okay.
Member of the VFW here. We just finished up a VFW meeting for the night, for our monthly meeting. And a lot of the guys are back there entertaining right now.
Well, you know, they deserve that, right?
No, yeah.
Yeah. So this is post 8514.
That's the VFW post.
And the VFW. And the American Legion also meets here, I believe. Okay.
324. The VFW post here in Osseo is kind of a baby veterans organization in Osseo. 324 Legion started in 1921 here.
Oh, okay.
That's when they first started the meeting down in the old farmer store. There's a first meeting up there in the back. It's in that book too. But anyway, and that's when the American Legion started. After World War I. And so they got a post established here, but it wasn't chartered until about 1930 something when they actually got the charter granted. But the World War I veterans, that's who started the American Legion. They cut the logs for this cabin and built it in 1933 east of town here. Well, everything was piney woods around here. It wasn't farmland. They cut them down, hewed them all out, and put them all together and built the cabin in 1933, I think, is when they first got opened here. And their meetings were here ever since until we built the Palladium in 1971. Then we sold that about 20 years ago. World War II guys were getting too old to tend bar. They couldn't walk much to tend bar after night. So we sold it, then we moved back into the cabin here. The Auxiliary Ladies Legion would meet here in between time. Then we got air conditioning in here and all this stuff. In the 50s, they put bathrooms back here. I think they just had an outhouse before that. So they added on storage rooms and all that stuff. So this is our home now for 20-some years. And been a really nice place, and we keep adding to it and improve the facilities a little bit, upgrading it and that stuff. So
well, it's really unique. I don't think I've ever seen another log cabin structure like this.
And youth groups use it free of charge. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, 4-H, FF, whoever wants to come. Any organization in town, if they need a room for a meeting or something, they don't have something, they come in. We don't charge them for it, you know. We do rent it out to families for graduations, birthday parties, or whatever, and sometimes for funeral luncheons afterwards and all that stuff. So
this is a lovely facility. You've got a nice kitchen and everything, right?
Yep.
This is really nice.
It works out good. We don't have a bar because the license went to the Palladium. We just got a refrigerator with the guys who buy their own at the end of the meetings, but we don't have a commercial license to sell anymore. That license had to go with the guy who bought the Palladium.
I thought the Palladium collapsed in the...
It did about 5-6 years ago. That winter when we had so much snow and they were collapsing all those roofs. Well, that was one of them that went down with it and pushed it all in. He didn't want to rebuild there, so that was the end. It's just right across the road. That's where it used to be up towards the golf course there. We kind of take care of the landscape there so the brush and all don't get so terrible looking. So.
Well, and there is something kind of special here, right outside there.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about the Huey.
Okay, I will. Well, about 3 years ago, the committee here, the park committee, both BFW Legion and Pam Graham kind of headed it to do some type of a veterans memorial here. So they started on the building a park and all that stuff, and last summer they got some of the stuff in for it. And about 7 years ago, we had some guys in the VFW and the Legion that were helicopter pilots in Vietnam. And we decided we didn't want a tank. Government's got all kinds of tanks, you know, but World War II guys, we want to get a Huey. So we wrote to the national organization and then the Army to see if we can get a Huey helicopter. That's what they flew. This is not the gunship like Strum has. This is the carried transport the troops and all that stuff.
Right.
Two different things. That's a gunship down there.
So was that a Cobra, the one in...
Down in Strum is a Cobra, okay? And that just had 2 men and they just fired rockets and machine guns at the enemy. This was carrying troops take them to the battle sites here in Vietnam. A whole like 12, I think, maybe 20 guys. I don't know exactly how many they could get in there, a pilot and co-pilot, into the different battle sites. And so we wanted that, so we wrote the National. Well, you get all your ceremonial rifles and all that was over in Michigan, and the National had to verify the Legion was a viable post. We weren't just making that not activated. And they gave us permission, so I rode over there. We had to have a site plan and all that. And we waited. 2 years later, I called them up. Have you found a Huey for us? Here's a sticker. United States government. Of all the movies you see, if everything else you see, helicopters crash in Vietnam, helicopters, Hueys, the United States government does not have one Huey helicopter in their boneyards around the United States. But she says, you're on the list. You're number 23 on the list. All these guys. Well, that's 2 years. We're all going to be dead by the time they find one for us. So then we started our own search online. And then they found one up in New Richmond, but it wasn't all put together and all that stuff. And we bought that, hauled it down here. There's pictures of it over there on the table. Mine had tail section. We got a tail section up in Rice Lake, but it was too far gone. We didn't have the extra tiers to bolt it all together. Parts missing and the rivets. So after about 2 years monkeying with that, we give up. Well, one of the ladies was the wife of one of the Vietnam vets. She found one online down in Texas. So we had me buy it. So she called down there, and the guy was his last one. He'd bought 30-some Hueys from the government years ago and started fixing them all up. And he said, this is my last one. This one actually flew in Vietnam, Army cavalry outfit, and he just was finishing up. Can we buy it? I said, yes, if you want it. So he sent a couple guys down there to look at it, to okay it. So we paid like $33,000. We got a loan and all that stuff, and got it before anybody else did, and got it hauled up here. And a week before Veterans Day last year, we got it set on the pedestal. Global Finishing made that pedestal for it and designed it all up there and got it all cemented in. And we got Gunnison Chevrolet to hoist it up and put it on the thing just in time for Veterans Day. And so everything worked out just perfect last summer.
So it's only been here about a year?
Huh?
It's only been here about a year?
It hasn't even been here a year yet.
Oh my goodness.
So, and it was in good shape, and the way it's designed and sitting there, it really adds to the park here and all that stuff. It brings the people in. Eventually, this park, we're just going to keep adding to it as we go, as we can get the money, different monuments, honoring the different things and all that stuff.
Oh, so, I think that's great. I have a
it's
good
really
friend
it really dressed this place up,
yeah,
you know.
I have a friend that was the crew chief on a Huey in Vietnam, and he just had a lot of good things to say about it. And the one thing that he said that was the parts for the Huey and the Cobras were like interchangeable.
It could be,
yeah. So they were really easy to maintain and fix when there was a problem.
Yeah, I mean we got other guys here. Some weren't the pilots, but they were crew chiefs on one. And if you were infantry in Vietnam, you probably rode in one, getting dumped off someplace or other. And so it's quite a history. And right now, the age of the Vietnam vets is kind of a symbol of Vietnam. The Huey is. Everybody, you mentioned Vietnam, and everybody thinks of the Huey helicopter.
Yeah.
There was other stuff too, but that's kind of an ideal symbol of it for us. So it just worked out wonderful for us.
I think that's great that you got that out there. I was surprised when we drove in. I didn't know.
Oh, you haven't been here before, huh?
No. Oh, not when you had the Huey out there.
Yeah,
anyway.
so that draws people in. They stop and oh boy, you know.
Yeah.
How'd you get that? There ain't many left unless you can buy a private one.
Yeah.
There's no motor in it. You can't fly it.
Oh, it won't go anywhere. Huh?
No. Unless you want to buy one for about $250,000, you might find somebody still running.
So what are your future plans here? You want to add to? You said
we're going to keep adding. The park committee now, it's a meeting they're going to meet right after Memorial Day. Once a month they'll have a meeting, decide what the next step is going to be. We got to get some stuff paid for here, the landscaping over there, we're going to get power run under the road from the building over to this shed over here. So that side of the street will have electricity for lighting around the helicopter and all that, and whatever future plans we put up over there once we get the land. And our next mission, I think, what they want to do is get some type of monument, or not monument, or dedication of some type for our Desert Storm, Iraqi, and Afghanistan fans, the war on terror, to honor those guys.
Sure.
A lot of people got World War II, World War I. Hardly anybody has honored the new guys, the last 30 years.
That's right.
And we want to get those guys. These are the guys who are going to be taking over the ship here.
That's right.
Not too many years, hopefully,
Yeah, us Vietnam era people, we're getting up there, aren't we?
Yeah, we're next in line. We're sitting under the ground, what the heck, We only got like 4 Korean vets left in the outfit.
Yeah.
There's no World War II guys left. We've lost all of them in the last year. So they'd be 100 years old now.
Yeah.
And, but that's time gets us all.
Yeah. So what was your service?
I was in the Marine Corps in 1967 to 71, 1 year in Vietnam. So, but I wasn't a grunt. I was in electronics, communication stuff.
Where were you stationed?
Around Da Nang.
Okay.
Went to electronics school for a year. Camp Lejeune in Vietnam for a year and back, and 2 more years at Camp Lejeune, and I got out.
Have you ever gone back to Vietnam?
No. So,
well, 2 years ago, my son and his girlfriend went there for winter.
Oh, we did?
And they were sending me pictures. Well, now we're in Da Nang, and now we're in Saigon. They don't call it Saigon anymore.
Oh, Ho Chi Minh City.
Yeah, and then they were in the Gulf of Tonkin and all these places, and the Mekong Delta. And I thought it was beautiful. They just loved the country.
Oh, okay, yep. Well, I didn't do much running around over there.
Sure.
I was stationed right around Da Nang Airport most of the time. First Marine Air Wing is what my job was there.
I just think it's interesting that it has become such a tourist attraction
Oh, yes.
now.
I mean, after the war, when we pulled out in 73 when they pulled the Americans out. The 75 when the North Vietnamese took over, completely lost hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese, got stranded there. They come into the United States as refugees and all that stuff. They got left behind. The communists took over, and a lot of them were not treated very well.
Right.
And so the communists took over, and the economy kind of went into tank when they lost all the American support and all that stuff. But then they got kind of into a capitalist system and getting businesses going, and it's thriving. There's a lot of businesses now in Vietnam doing business from the United States, and it's taken off. And the people themselves, they're not mad at it. They're helping, they're really nice. It's between the communist structure and the capitalist system. I don't want to get into politics. It doesn't work as far as I'm concerned. It never has.
But it's just interesting how things change, isn't it?
And 20 years we spent there.
Yeah.
We inherited French China from the French after World War II and bankrolled them. And of course, the Vietnamese people were more or less their servants or slaves there, and they did not treat them well. And they didn't like them. So when we took over, they kind of thought we were taking over. We were there to help the South Vietnamese government. We didn't have the means to fight the North Vietnamese.
Right.
And for 20 years, we just sit there at a stalemate, basically, and finally we just said enough is enough. And they come out, and 58,000 young men, a few women, paid with their lives,
Yeah, we don't want to have our Vietnam veterans forgotten.
No, and that was a bad time in the country overall. I think the Vietnam vets took the brunt of all the protesting and all that stuff back then, for all the ills of going through the segregation stuff. And
it was a very different time, wasn't it? So, what you have meetings here? Once a month?
Once a month, and the auxiliaries have meetings here once a month, and the scouts the pack meetings are here, and that stuff. And I have the Boy Scouts over to Osseo Plastics every week, and they have a thing. We just did a Eagle Scout honor last Sunday here for one of our boys.
Oh, wow.
We just got Eagle Scout and all that stuff. So.
Well, it's nice to see that it's getting used so much.
It's used, and it's used all the time. People want to rent it. And the youth groups come in and they're using it, you know, and it's someplace to meet.
Yeah.
It's hard to get into businesses or the school because then they got to hire a janitor to come in and take care of them and all that stuff. If it's come in, behave yourself, you're welcome to it and all that stuff.
Well, that's
and the different dens and the scouts, different levels, well, they got keys, just come in and use it.
Yeah.
So I got a chart, who's this day, what time, and all that day, so they all don't come in on the same day. I had to get that done because otherwise nobody knew when they're going to show up and somebody else.
Yeah. That's a lot of work, a lot of scheduling.
Oh, yeah. And one of the nice things that's happened, I think it's 9 years now, across Vet Center, actually, they come up and do an outreach program for the Vietnam vets that have issues now after they're retired. So every 2 weeks she comes up here on Monday and we have a couple hour meeting with her to discuss, to help us get through some of the issues they have and all that stuff. So that's worked out. So we use that home. And then later on the day she does the Desert Storm and all the young Marines. She has a group in here and then she goes to Menominee and Hayward she does online and all that stuff. You know, Toma has this down there, but no, you can't get these guys to go down there. So this outreach program has really helped the Vietnam vets. They don't like to talk about it, you know, after they got done work and things start coming into their mind and then they start having problems and some of them don't handle it very well, you know. That's the way it is. So that was a great thing that got started here, you know, to help out the veterans and all that. And it's, the community knows about it. It's the membership in these posts here, the veterans posts, get along. There's no fighting amongst the members. Everybody's working together to keep improving the quality of life for the community and the post here and all that. I'm really, really proud of them.
Now this post is the Craig Olson post?
Yeah, the VFW post. It's the Carl Nelson American Legion post.
Right.
Was named after Carl Nelson, who was killed November 11th, 1918, the last day of World War I. 5 o'clock in the morning, they were getting across the Moose River and he took fire and he was killed in that action. So that's what the American Legion named the post after. Craig Olson was killed in 69 in January, just before he was 21 in Vietnam. And we named the VFW post after him. He's 2 years younger than myself and all that stuff. And, okay. Yeah, they're spending my money on beer. I won the raffle. That's the way we do it. Whoever wins, buy the first round, and they shake for the rest of them.
Good for you.
So they have a good time. Relax afterwards. So, anyway, it's been a wonderful 30-some years since I've been active in the post.
You've been pretty active, haven't you?
It never stops. 30-some years ago, the VFW post was 1985 when we chartered. We're a chartered member. And then there was enough, somebody wanted to get a VFW post started here. Augusta had one, Strum had one, Whitehall had one, Osseo didn't have one. So the big dogs, why don't you start one in Osseo? So we started calling up a few guys. We got enough to get the post started. And it gradually grew. Now the Legion has about 120 members, and the VFW about 100 members. So it's going. And it's growing. It's not going downhill.
That's good.
Because of what we do, the people want it, and that's great. It's tough these days to keep these smaller posts going.
Sure.
They're running out of people, and the young guys ain't showing up. But we got a few guys that starting to jump into action with us.
Right.
And it'll grow.
So if somebody watching this would be interested in joining, what would they do?
Well, call me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what we'll do at the end of the show is I'll run your phone number. So they could call you. Oh, you've got.
You got her. Either Legion or VFW, and you just have to, for the VFW Legion, you have to qualify where you were and all that stuff. An honorable discharge from the service. And we'll gladly welcome you aboard. You know. Well, this year, both the VFW and Legion had at least 100% members and a couple more new ones. We always lose a few because they're passing and all that stuff, the older ones. But
you also do the Wreaths Across America.
Wreaths Across America started about 5 years ago. She's been taking pictures of that for several years. We got 4 cemeteries. That's another great thing that got started here, and the public has really supported us on that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful thing to get done to honor the grave sites of all our veterans.
Yes.
We got 9 cemeteries that we take care of, but we've got all the flags out and all that stuff that we'll start doing in the next week or so. But the wreaths, we just couldn't fit any more in, but these were where they have churches on or something like that there where the public will come out. Thompson Valley up there between here and Augusta. They have a good turnout there from the members around that area. And we go down the South Beef River, then the Kings Valley, and we do Osseo at the end. There's 300 and some at Osseo, 68 or something down there. So Beef River and 38 down to Kings Valley, another 38 at Thompson Valley.
Yeah.
But they have a wonderful ceremony to honor all the branches of service and all the veterans and all that stuff. So it's a wonderful thing that got started.
Yeah, it is, and it gets the young people involved as well.
Yeah, we get the youth groups go out there to lay the wreaths for the memorial wreaths and all that. Someone will say the Pledge of Allegiance and a Boy Scout or somebody or youth group. So it's a good deal, and that's caught on really good. First year we started, we didn't know what the heck we're going to do, but we got her going, and it snowed, We got all the graves cleaned off, about 500 of them, and the day before it snowed again. Had to clean them all off again. But we made it. You know, in the year we didn't have much snow. Then next year, but we got it handled. Volunteers from the community jump in to help. Youth groups to get them cleaned off. We lay the wreaths down, and everything is. I got a list of all the veterans where they are in the cemetery marked, and we put. After the first year, instead of just laying them on the ground, we got holders for them. Yeah. Out of stainless steel that we had the Sons of American Legion welded up so the flags are not just, otherwise the wind just blows them away.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So it's nice. That cost a few bucks, but that's all done and paid for now. So it's a better deal that way, you know.
So do you have Civil War veterans, right?
Yes.
Spanish American?
Yep.
And then World War I?
Yep.
World War II?
Yep.
Korea?
Vietnam.
And then
Persian Gulf and
Middle East there,
and Afghanistan and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right now, at Osseo Cemetery up there, there's 20 Civil War vets. Civil War veterans buried there. I got 18 up at Thompson Valley. I got 5 down at South Beef River. I got 1 for sure down at the old abandoned cemetery at South Valley here, and I think there's another guy there because he homesteaded land after the Civil War just up the road where Old meets Brown Road there. And he lost 2 daughters. He's here, one in 1870, another one in 1882, and his wife died in 1893. He died in 1894, and there's no grave sites for any of them. But his wife's nephew came up here after the war. He fought for Iowa outfit, the 9th Infantry, but he came up here after the Civil War. Piney Woods was king up here. You know, everybody come up here for the timber industry. These Civil Wars from the southern part of the state, and so he was working in the forest up there, a lumber camp north between Augusta and Cadott, and a tree come down and crushed his skull and killed him. But he was living that, and they sent his body home to Osseo at address. Well, it's Esley Aiken, and I looked up the history on him. Well, his aunt was married to Massey Forrester, you know. And so I figured that's where they're buried, but there's no landmarks. Of course, it's like these old cemeteries. There's no tombstones or nothing. And that's why I asked you about if there are bodies around there. I have know how the layout goes or nothing. I have the list. I got a list of every cemetery we take care of, every veteran in there.
I see. It might have been a wooden marker, and it's gone by now.
The ones in the cemeteries, the ones that got the Civil War markers now, you know, that's all they got is the name and the unit they got on. There's no birth dates on that. They were put in by the American Legion and the VA in 1930 when the VA came around. And the data on them was on a card, but I'm sure it was just an old wood cross stuck in the ground. And that got long deteriorated many years before. So that's unless they had a private tombstone, then you could get it.
Yeah.
But see, there hardly any spouses of theirs got any tombstone next to them, unless it was a private family tombstone. So I think that all got to here, but on the cemetery records, you'll see them buried there. But I've been working on these records and trying to figure out who's next to what happened to them and all that stuff for 8 years now.
It gets hard, doesn't it?
You've been working on it too.
Well, yeah. Our church has got a real old cemetery, and yeah. Well, look at that. We've been sitting here talking for quite a while now.
Okay, that's good. So, Nancy.
So what do you want us to wrap it up? What do you want us to tell us about? So we're going to have to stop here before we run out of battery.
Okay.
So we just want to say, we're up here in Osseo, and we're at the Cabin in the Pines for VFW 8514. And so thank you very much, Bud.
Yeah, no thing. That's good.
And please remember our veterans as we go into this upcoming holiday of Memorial Day. Right.
Yep.